So yesterday we discussed reflection. Okay, while discussing reflection, okay, we got some issues. Okay, when I'm executing modular division or division method with parameters, so that time we are getting some errors. Okay, so earlier I was calling this get declared method with only one parameter, but also we need to pass the one more argument, that is class array. Okay, class array. So what are the parameters we are passing? Those parameters type we have to pass as a class array. Okay, here I'm passing in this modular division and division method. You go to the calculator class. So in the division method, these two are integers. Similarly, in calculator 2, these two are integers. Okay. So along with the method name, you also need to pass the arguments list with the class array. Okay, so it's like, suppose if we have some int array, int, some int1, int arr. Okay, so earlier, if you want to store the values, into array, you are directly assigning, right? 10, 20, 30, like that. Same thing you can assign like this. Same thing you can assign new int, and immediately you can assign the values, 3 values. Similarly, here also, this is also same like this integer you are storing into some class array. Like this. Okay, you have 2 arguments. Each one is one type you are specifying, integer class. Okay, that you are stored into one class array. That class array you have to pass. Okay, in this place, if you want, you can pass as a class array. Okay. If you run it, we can also call the private method directly. See, division and modular division it is calling. Modular division it is calling here. If it is not available in class, calculator, in calculator 2, it is calling. Okay. So now today's topic is input output operations. Okay. Input output operations. Input or output. Okay. In shortcut, we call it as IO operations. IO operations. So what are IO operations? What are IO operations? So till yesterday, okay, so how we are processing the data. Okay, so we are using this language to process the data, right? So how we are processing the data? So the data, whatever the data we are using to process, the data we are directly writing into the Java file. See here values 30, 40. If you take some other examples, let me take this bank example. See this data, balance data, okay? Or if you are comparing with some other data, all these are your hard coding in the hard coding. Hard coding means this one. Hard coding in the coding. Okay. So generally in the real time, we should not hard code these values. We have to read the values from the external files. Okay, external files means like Notepad or JSON or Excel, CSV file. Similarly, database. Okay, all these things you have to do. Okay, so if you want to read the data from external file or external any type of database or something, or if you want to store the data after processing, if you want to store the data to external file, okay, in that case we have to use the input output operations. So input is for fetching the data to our programming, output is for store the data, our result to external files. Okay, so we have one package in Java. So if you want to use collections, how we are using java.util package you are using, right? If you go to collections, okay, if you want to use collections, how we are using? You are using util package. Okay, you are using util package. Similarly, if you want to use input output operations, so you have to use IO package. Here also I have created one operations. I have created some example. Okay, using which properties collection, but I didn't explain this because without knowing input output operations, you cannot use the properties class. Okay, so we have one package in Java. Okay, package name is java.io package. Java.io package. So inside this package, we have these supporting files to perform the input output operations. We have different classes, different methods. Okay, so suppose you don't want to take the data from the file. Okay, while executing the program, you want to pass the data. You want to, while executing the program, you want to pass the data at runtime, not through the methods in the console while it is executing. If you want to pass the data, so we have one class. One second. I don't want to take any data from files. Okay, in that case, file input output stream is not required. So we have two ways. Either you have to enter data manually while executing the program, or you have to connect with some external file. From there you have to take. Okay, if you want to pass the data at runtime, okay, we have one class. So let me create that in the encapsulation part. So the class name is scanner class. Scanner class example. So here you will not hard code any data, but while executing the program, you will pass the data. How to do that? So here, if you want to read the data which is entered by some user at runtime, so we have one class, scanner class. Scanner. New scanner class. So here you need to pass system.in. Okay, it is available in util package again. System.in, which means while executing the program, whatever you enter, that it will take. Okay. Suppose while executing my program, okay, let me print some values. Okay, some student details. Okay, so let me put enter student details. Enter name. Enter name. Okay, so if you want to enter name, okay, that you have to store into, after entering the name, that you have to store into, immediately store into some variable, right? So name, it will be in the format of string. Okay, if you want to read the data as a string from the user input, we have one method, next line, that you can store into the string student name equals to whatever the name you enter, that will be stored into student name. So now I want to enter roll number. Roll number is a integer, int roll number. Okay, so it is an integer, right? So to capture the integer data, we have next int. Next int. Next int. So if you want to store phone number, student phone number, enter phone number, phone number. So phone number, it will be a big number, right? So let me store into the long. Phone number, which will become next long. Okay, average marks. Average marks. Marks. Average marks can be float, next float. Next float. Present or not. We can put flag. Enter presence. It will be boolean. Next boolean. So similarly, if you want to use for short, you want to use for short, byte, char, double, you can use next short, next byte, next char. Similarly, you have next double. Okay, if you want to execute this program, how it will take the data. Okay, so now I want to print the details. I am already storing into variables. Okay, this data I need to print now. This data I need to print now. How I can print? Student name. We already storing into variables, right? Student name. Roll number. So you will print the roll number. Similarly, phone number, average marks. Presence. Okay. So what are the values you are taking as an input? Those are printing. Okay. We didn't hard code any single value here. We didn't assign any single value. While executing the program, you have to pass the values. Okay. So let me run it. See, it is asking enter name. Okay. Some RAM. Enter roll number 1001. Enter phone number. Okay. 9876543210. Enter average marks. Okay. Some 65.7. Enter presence. Yes. True. See, what are the values we entered, that it has printed. Okay. Getting or not? See, what are the values I have entered, those it has printed. Those stored into the variables, it has printed. Okay. If you want to perform the operation on these variables, yes, you can perform. But every time while executing the program, entering the data is very hard, right? It's not a good practice, right? So 99%, we don't use this approach in our Selenium program. Very rare condition, we will use this approach. Okay. So what is the next alternate solution for this? Okay. The same data you store into some file. Okay. The same data you store into some file. Then process that data. Okay. So let me store this data into some notepad file. Student data. This is student data. Let me rename it as already created. Refresh it. Where it is? This is the student data file. Okay, so here I have data. Student data like this. Okay, this data I want to read instead of entering from the console. Okay, so if you want to read the data from any of the format of file, any format file, okay, you cannot directly read into your program. You cannot directly read into your program. So you have to take the help of Java input output streams, IO streams. IO stream, why we call it as IO stream? Input stream or output stream, why we call it as input output stream? So basically, stream is nothing but those are stream of numbers, stream of 0 and 1s. Okay, whatever the data you enter in the computer language, that will be converted into stream, some sequence of 0 and 1s. Stream of numbers. Okay, it will convert into byte code first. Okay, if you enter some 100 in the back end, it will convert into byte code. Okay, 01101 like that it will convert. If you enter text, if you enter whatever you enter, your computer can understand only 0 or 1. Okay, only 0 or 1. Okay, that code, whatever we enter, that will convert in the back end into zeros and ones. Okay, so again, if you want to convert or if you want to process your data, okay, if you directly enter your data into Java program, by default it will convert into stream and it will convert into outstream. Okay, in stream and outstream. That is the reason in this class also. So if you want to accept, we are using in stream, system.in stream. If you want to print, you are using system.outstream. Okay, system.instream and system.outstream. Similarly, if you want to read the data from file, by default it will not convert into in-stream or outstream. So we have to convert with the help of IO package. So inside this IO package, we have file input stream. Okay, so it will convert file into input stream. Okay, so for this, you need to pass the file. You need to pass the file. Similarly, you have file output stream. Here also, it will convert file into output stream. Okay, so it will store the data into the file. Again, this file, you cannot directly pass as a file. Okay, so you have one more class to store the file. Okay, you have file class to store the file into some object. You can pass the path of your file. Path of your file. Okay, so inside file input stream, we have some methods. Inside output stream, we have methods using which we will convert the data into input stream. The same data we can use for our processing. And also, if you want to store into some output, some other file, okay, you have to convert this into output stream that you can store into the file location. Okay, how to do that we will see now. So let me create one package. So new input output or IO streams. I will create as a IO streams. Finish it. Okay, what I do is, so this scanner class, I cut it from here, but is not available. But so let me copy first, paste here. Okay, let me remove from here, from the encapsulation. Scanner class I will remove. So here in IO streams we have scanner class now. Okay. So again we have to enter if we run. So now I want to read the data from my file. Okay. If you want to read the data from file, what is the class we have? What is the class we have? If you want to read the data from file, we have file input stream. Okay. So let me create one class, file input streams example. Yeah. So here I want to read the data from the external file. Okay. So you have to create an object of file input stream. File input stream. It is available in IO package, Java IO package. Okay. File input stream equals to new file input stream. You have to create the object. But in this object, it is accepting. Okay. In this object, in this constructor there is a dependency to create the object of this class. Dependency is on file. dependency is on file, or it is asking string. Suppose if you want to pass, you can pass string also, some string. Okay, so by default, these classes, file input output classes, okay, throws some exception. What exception? If you are using file input stream or output stream, by default it throws file not found exception. Okay, by mistake, sometimes we will pass some incorrect file path or incorrect file object. If the file is not available, that time we will get the file not found, right? So that is the reason by default it is reminding you. Okay, so you might miss providing the path. Okay, so just take care of that. Okay, in that case you have to handle it. File not found exception. Okay, so here I just hard coded the value. Here I just hard coded some value. Okay, in this place you can pass the file also. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you. So here we need to pass the file. Okay, so file how you can pass. You cannot directly pass the file here. So first you need to store the file into file class. File1 equals to our student details file equals to new file. So in the new file, you have to pass the path of your file. So here you are getting the error. You need to import this package from IO package file also. Here you need to pass the path. Okay, and this file object you need to pass to the input stream. Okay, so here I need to pass the path of my file. My file is on my desktop. What I do is instead of this file also I store into. So I create some. Okay, let me create one file inside this only. Student details .txt. Finish it. Okay, this is the student details file. Okay, let me copy this data to student details. So now your file is in. Now your file is in your code only. Okay, so let it be. So I want to pass this path. Go to properties. You can see the path of your file. This is the path of your file. This path you have to provide. This path you have to provide. Okay, so it is in my local system, right? See, it is in my local system. Okay, up to this path, up to this path might be changed in the future. If you want to get the current directory, okay, your current directory path, this is your current directory. So we have one default method. Let me print that. Default method is system dot so let it be system dot get property. Get property. Okay, you will understand it once we discuss the properties class. So as of now, if you use user.dir, okay, it returns some string. It returns current file path. String current file path or current directory, current dir, current directory. So if you pass this current directory. If you run it, you can see the current directory path. See, it is there in this d:" git Java 2023. So in this folder you have. So in your laptop, you might maintain your code into some other directory, right? Some other folder. Okay. So what I'm doing is, so using which we are getting the current directory, right? Which means we are getting the path up to here. I remove this here, delete it. Just I put the current directory here. Okay. Got it? What I'm doing here, that I just stored into my project to get the project path. My current project, local project path. We have one method, system.getProperty user directory. It will gives you the current directory. So this is your current directory, right? Up to that, it will give you the, up to here, it will give you the path up to this folder. After that, we have src IO streams. IO streams. Inside that, we have student details.txt. Okay, now you have a file that you have converted into file stream. If you want to check how many bytes of memory it is occupied, okay, so you have one method, available method. Okay, it will return how many bytes it is occupied. If you want to print it or store into total bytes. So this is also, it is returning some, okay, default exception, some IO exception. Okay, earlier it is returning file not found exception. For file not found exception, parent class is IO exception. Okay, so parent class is IO exception. That is the reason, using IO exception, you can handle IO exception and also its child class file not found exception. Or if you want to use exception, it will handle all exceptions, any type of exception. Okay, so let me print the total bytes. 33 bytes are there. Okay, once you convert into file stream, okay, if you want to store the bytes, so you have to use the byte array. Okay, byte array you have to use. Okay, student data in bytes equals to. So when, if you want to create some empty array, how you will create new byte? So here you need to pass the number of bytes you want to store, right? For if you take integer, how many values you want to store, that count you have to store. Similarly, for byte also, how many bytes you want to store. So here the data is occupying 33 bytes. That bytes you can pass here. So now from the FIS object, so this available method is a to check how many bytes it has. Here we just created one array. Okay, it is not related to the input stream. Just we created one byte array. So if you want to read the data from, your file input stream, we have method read method. Okay, but this read method, using read method, you can also store this data into byte array. Okay, not so this read method, just it will read and it is giving some integer. Okay, reads a byte of data from the input stream. Okay, 1 byte of data it is reading. If you want to read all bytes of data, okay, so see, basically this is reading. If you use read, you can read only 1 byte of data. Okay, that you can store into integer. Okay, int some 1 byte. If you print this, one character will be printed. Okay, read, it will read only one character. That character you can store into integer. Okay, it will print that character. 82 it is printing. Okay, 82 it is printing. So if you open the file, the student file, R, what is the R? So let me go to Google, go to this ASCII codes. ASCII table, go to ASCII table. Okay, so we have alphabets, right? What is the code for R? C. So this is the decimal, okay? 82. 82 is the R. That is the reason it is printing 82. Okay? It reads only first character. Suppose if you want to read all characters if you want to store into some array, you can pass your byte array here. You can pass the byte array. What it will return? Byte array if you pass, again it is returning the integer. It is returning the integer, file input stream integer. Okay, so let's print this. Some int, some all bytes. If I run it, you are getting some 32. Okay, random number it is printed. But if you want to convert this stream bytes data, okay, this is all bytes. If you want to convert into string, you can convert using, see, generally, if you want to store string, how you are storing string 1 str equals to, generally you directly store the value like this, right? Suppose if you want to store hello, you will store like this. Okay, instead of it, you can also store new string like this. Also you can store, because string also a class. String also a class. You can also store like this. Okay, but in this string, if you pass bytes instead of hello, if you pass bytes, it will convert that bytes into string. So now what I do is simply now student to data. I want to pass the all bytes. It is asking for, okay, 1 second. Sorry. So you have to use read, okay, byte, that is fine. Read bytes, read all bytes. Okay, what is the method we have? Let me check once. We have, okay, yeah, byte only. Okay. So no need to, yeah, no. So this format is correct only. So basically, you should not store into some integer. Okay, even though you store, not a problem. You already stored the data into byte array. So you need to pass the byte array here. Not 1 byte, total bytes. Okay. So wherever you are storing, okay, there you need to. So you created student byte array. Sorry. So you created this byte array using this read method, when you use read and when you pass byte array, that data will be stored into byte array. One by one character will be stored into byte array. Okay, one by one character will be stored into byte array. That byte array you are converting as string. Suppose if you print student data, it prints that data. See, 1001. What is this? AM. R is missing. R, why R is missing? So when you use read, okay, it is works like a cursor. One character already you already taken into this part. Okay, so this is the file. One character you already taken into this part. So if you comment this, okay, run again. So now we are getting raw. But when you use this, it works like a cursor. When you use read, it will read that character and go to the next line. Okay, that time it is ignoring. Okay, if you want to read the data, yes, you can read. So now you can split or convert this data into your variables. You can process this data. Okay, any confusion how to do the process? Any confusion here? So if you want to read the data from the file, what you have to do is, so you have to first store that file into some file object. You have to convert into file stream using FileInputStream class. And after converting, if you want to store that stream into some array, you have to create one byte array. So there you have to mention the size of array. So here size of array is you cannot predict, right, what is the data is available in that file. So if you want to check how much data is available in that file, we have direct method, available method. It gives the size of data. The same size you will define in the array creation. So that data you will store into byte array using read method. That byte array you are converting into string. Simply, you can process this data. Okay. So similarly, if you want to store the data to some other file. Okay. So let me create one more file after processing or something new. Not here. So in the package itself, what I do is this name, I will rename it to file student input details, student details input, student details input. Okay, let me rerun again. Let's see. Yeah, we are getting. So now from this data, my operation is, okay, I want to extract phone number from this data. How I can do that? How I can do extraction? Okay, so let me split it dot split the string with slash n. I will split. Slash n means there it has some new lines, right? Slash n. So here what I do is, so split it will return array of strings, because after splitting one by one, string will be divided. Okay, you will get multiple strings. If you want to store multiple strings, we have string arrays. String array. Okay, so now if you want to print one by one character, you can use for loop. Okay, from string array, you are reading one by one string, each string. Print each string. So let's see. See, RAM 1001, phone number, all these are printing one by one. So now I want to extract only phone number. So generally phone numbers length will be 10, right? Okay, suppose if I use some condition here, if each string dot length is greater than or equals to 10, then print that string. Then print that string. So now it will print only phone number. Only phone number. See, only phone number it is printed. Okay, that you can store into some variable instead of printing phone number. So let me declare this phone number as global variable. Okay, so otherwise what I do is, yeah, long phone number equals to some phone number I am defining here from 0 initially. Okay, so I will reinitialize this phone number with this. So if you want to convert this string to your long phone number long, how you will convert? How you will convert? Somebody, can you try? If you want to convert some string to number, how we can convert string to number? So we are last class in Java. Okay, you should not think for it. Immediately you have to give the answer. How we can convert, Moses?
We use value
of. Okay, you can use long dot value of each string. You can use, and also you have, yeah, this is the wrapper class. Basically your answer should be straightforward. Okay, so value of, you have this method in integer, float, long, and also it is available in string also. Okay, so the answer generally you have to say like using wrapper classes. This is the wrapper class, right? Using wrapper class you can convert the string into our number. Okay, so let me print the phone number after processing. Phone number, phone number. Okay, plus is missing. Okay, phone number will be printed. Exception, number format exception for input string. See, when you use long dot value of, when you are using, you are getting the number format exception. Okay, what you have to do is use parse long. Let's try this. Again, number format exception, line number 60, sorry, 44. Phone number, each string, that is fine. Okay, let me put it as dot trim once. So let me rerun. Yeah. So earlier there are some spaces after the phone number. So let me use value of also. Yeah, value of also it is working. Okay, phone number you have extracted. So when you use a trim method, suppose if you have a string like this, if you want to cut these spaces, I want to print only hello. I don't want these spaces. Okay, that time you can use trim. So here along with the phone number, there are some spaces are coming. when you are converting into number, it is unable to convert the spaces into number. That is the reason that space it is giving as a number format exception. Okay, it is unable to convert space into number. So now you have the phone number that you want to store, that you want to store into some file. Okay, if you want to store into some file, what is the class we have to use? FileOutputStream. Okay, now my file is different file. Okay, let me create one more file, that is student phone numbers. Student phone numbers.txt. Okay, I have student phone number. In this file, I want to store the phone numbers of all students. Okay, now what I do is, so if you want to store, first you have to take that file and also you need to create output stream. So file, student details, student phone number file, phone numbers file. So give the name of this file, student phone numbers. So you need to create a file output stream. Output stream FOS equals to new file output stream. Okay, again you have to pass phone number file. So you want to write the data. You want to write the data to your file. Okay, if you want to write the data, you have method write. See here it is asking write bytes or how you want to store. How you want to store this data. Okay, so again to store the data into your file, you need to convert into byte stream, because that byte stream only again it will convert into string, and that string you can store into your file. Okay, here what I do is, let me try with direct long how it is working. See, it is not taking. Let me take this phone number as string. I don't want to convert this phone number. I don't want to convert this phone number into integer. Okay, so here phone number also it is not taking. So what we have to do is, we have to convert this into byte array. Again, how you converted byte array into string, the similar way to convert a string to byte array, we have method get bytes that you can store into byte array. Again, student phone number in bytes, student phone number in bytes. Okay, this write method is accepting bytes, either int or byte, either single character or byte string, byte array. You can pass that byte array. Okay, after passing, we have to do one more method, flush method, to store into the file. Okay, so let me close this file. Let me run it. See, phone number is printed. This phone number should be stored into this phone number file. See, it is stored. directly. Okay, so like that we can process the data. Suppose if you have multiple files, whenever you have multiple files, I mean not multiple files, multiple records. Okay, so all the data you will process and you will store you will extract the number, each number, and you can store into the file. Okay, that is the processing of data from the file. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? Are you able to follow?
Yes, Shiva.
Any doubt? I'm asking, do you have any doubts, or is it clear or not?
Yes, Shiva. Clear.
Clear, right? It's simple, very simple. If you want to read the data, use file input stream. If you want to store the data, use file output stream. There are some methods in between you have to use. So the data which you get it as a stream format that you have to convert into byte. Then again byte you have to convert into string. Again, to store the data, if you have some string data that you have to convert into byte, that you can store into the file. Using flush method, you can store into the file. Okay. Yeah. So now this is the process of reading the data from the notepad files. Suppose if you have Excel file, CSV file, or JSON file, how you can process? Okay, before going to that, so we have collections, right? So here we have collections. So here we have one more collection, properties. It is a class. Okay, so generally, if you want to assign the data to map, how we are assigning directly key value pairs, directly we are hard coding here. But I want to store these key value pairs from some external file. Okay, from there I want to read this data. Okay, how can I read that? Okay, so basically the properties class is very important class. Okay, in this properties class we will store key value pairs. Some properties we will store. That is the reason the name itself it is giving as a properties. Okay, so properties you will store. Properties will be in the form of key value pairs. This is the key, this is the value. Similarly, key value pairs if you want to store, how you can store. Okay, if you want to store the data as a key value format, if you want to read the data based on the key, you have to go with the properties file. Real time 100 to 100% everyone uses this properties class. Okay, so basically the key value, the properties we store as a dot properties file. Okay, if you want to work with properties class, you have to choose a dot properties class. Okay, let me save as desktop. Here I'm creating the file student properties dot file extension should be properties. Okay, so let me save it on desktop. Or what I do is, where it is student properties, just now I created, refresh. This is the student properties class. This I will copy to my coding. Copy it. So in IO streams only, I am writing that properties class because we have to use the properties file also a external file, right? Student properties, external file. This external file, I have to read with the help of IO streams only. Okay, so in the student details, what I do, student properties, paste here, I put the name. You have to use like this, name, colon, roll dot number. If you want to separate name if there are 2 words, you have to use dot in properties file. Of course, you can write like this also, but all properties we write in the smaller case. Okay, if you observe here, in our here the property user directory, there is a dot, right? User and directory, between user and directory there is a dot. Okay, if you want to separate the names in properties file, you have to use dot, student.properties. Okay, phone number, phone dot number. This is the naming convention. Average marks, and also presence. So this is the way you can store the data in the properties class. So here now I'm creating properties class collection example. Class properties collection. So as usual, it is the properties you have in the properties file, right? Properties you have in the properties file. If you want to read the data from file, again the same thing. Again the same thing. You have to use the file input stream. Okay, it is throwing some exception, file not found exception, handle it, or you can directly specify exception. Now my file name is student properties. File name is student properties. This is my properties class. So once you create the properties object, I mean input file stream object, what we have to do is, now I will create properties class. Properties. Okay, student properties. New student, it is a class. You can directly create the object. New properties. New properties. Okay, now if you want to store this stream of data into your properties class object, we have method load method, which is accepting input stream. Okay, so you can pass the input stream. So this input stream, again, it is throwing some type of exception. It will throw, it is not throwing, it throws some exception in the future. So, but you have to handle it right away. Okay, so here add throws declaration, IO exception it is throwing. So now what you have to do is, if you want to read the data of student, simply you can use get property method. Get property. Student properties dot get property. Okay, if you pass name, okay, it will get the name from the properties file. Okay, so if you want to print it, just simply print using print statement. Okay, name will be printed. If you want to store into some string, this you can store into string. Okay, this property, if you see get property always gives the string, you can store into string. Similarly, if you want to print here name, roll number, phone number, average marks. Similarly, you have present. So you can simply print the data. So name, roll number it is giving as null, phone number it is giving, average marks also giving. So these two, okay, if you have some spelling mistakes, it will give you the null because it is not available like that. It is showing roll number. This is ROLL, roll number. So now it will print, see, roll number, all these things it is printing. Like that, you can read the properties of some object or some file properties. You can read with the help of properties class. Okay, in real time also we use this 100 to 100% we use the properties class. It is very, very important. If you want to load the some properties to your properties class, how you can load? Again, you have to create file output stream. Okay, you have to create file output stream. Through that only you have to store. Okay, in properties, if you added some property, extra property, dot set property is the method. Like get property, set property. So here you need to set some property. What is the property here? So here I have phone number, average marks, and everything is there. Class, some 10th class. This if you want to store to your file. Okay, so let me check whether we have direct method or not. So we should have some direct method. But to store into the file, we should have store. We should have some output stream, definitely. So let me check in Google how to store properties to properties file. Okay, go to all. Properties file, read and write. Okay, suppose if you set some values, okay. So here file not found exception, load is also done. Key value pairs are printing, that is fine. If you want to store, if you set some property, okay, where they are setting the property, nothing. File writer. So like input output stream, we have file writer also. So we have not this example. Store properties file Java in Java. Okay, after loading, this is fine. Store new file output stream. Okay, null key value phase. So here we will get the proper answers. After setting the properties, save properties. So again, we have to create the file output stream. The entire thing we have to store. Okay, so see, file output stream we have to use again to store the properties. So student properties I will store. Here I need to create a file output stream. Instead of or we already created this file. Why to use same file we can use, right? File output stream. Okay, pause this. So here, what is the method they are using? Store only. But why we are getting error? Change to store to XML. No. Yeah, this is correct. Load properties. Load is fine. Store, for store also. So let me check. Store output stream and string commits. Okay. So we already we are already storing this student properties. Here we have file output stream directory not required. So here you can put some comments. Updated properties file. Okay, so so now in properties file I don't have the class. Okay, so let me run now. See, it is already run. If you go to properties file, so class also is added. See, and also I have a comment, updated properties file comment added. When I added that also it is printed. See, class 10 is added. Okay, so like this you can set the property or you can get the properties from the properties file. Okay, are you able to follow? It's a simple only, right? It is very simple one. This is fine. Suppose if I want to read the data from Excel file, how I can read the data? How I can read the data from Excel file? If you look at your notepad file, it is very simple. Okay, so directly you can read this. But if you observe any Excel file, okay, this is the Excel file. So it has some structure. For this Excel file, it has some structure. Okay, it has some structure. Structure like this entire thing, we call it as workbook. Okay, this entire file, we call it as workbook. Inside this, like notepad, it is a workbook. If you want to read the data from Excel, okay, there is a hierarchy. Hierarchy like inside workbook, you have sheets. Inside sheets, you have rows and columns. Okay, again, cells you have rows and cells you have. This is rows, and for each row you have cells, right? So in that case, you cannot directly read the data. You cannot directly read the data. Why I cannot read the data? Because there is a navigation for this file, this type of file. You have to go through the navigation. Okay, again, after reading entire file, again you have to go to that sheet. That sheet you have to extract from the stream. Again, from that street, rows you have to extract from the sheet stream. Again, from the row stream, you have to extract from the cell stream. So to write that logic, it takes a lot of time. Okay, again, you need to print every time what it is printing. Okay, the bytecode you have to check for the Excel. So there is a huge logic you have to implement. Okay, so instead of implementing that logic, somebody is already implemented that logic. Okay, long back. Okay, instead of writing that code by our own, what we can do is that code we can directly use into our programming. Okay, instead of writing that code by our own, somebody has already implemented some classes. Inside those classes, he has already provided the logic to read the data from Excel. Okay, so from here, we don't create our own logics. in Selenium or Java also. Okay, 90% we use the existing logics. If somebody already created that logic only, we use in our programming. Okay, to read the data from Excel, somebody has created, like, okay, so that data, that classes we have to use to read the data from Excel. Okay, so that files, that logics are available in separate jar files. Okay, how we created jar files. Okay, for calculator, for new calculator, we created jar files, and I have shown you the example, right? Okay, dot class files we'll get. Similarly, somebody has implemented those logics. They have provided jar files. Those we need to import to our programming. Those we need to import to our programming. Those we have to use in our program. Okay, so Apache POI, Apache Software Foundation. So Apache POI has implemented that logics. Those logics we have to download from the Google or Maven repository. What is Maven repository? I will explain later. As of now, okay, Apache POI download. See, not a dependency. Do not go to dependency. You can directly go to download release artifacts Apache POI. You can go there. Okay, here you have to find that jar file, relevant jar file. See, zip, you can download this zip file. Okay, so you have to extract it and you have to use those jar files. I already downloaded those jar files, so let me show you. So here, this is Excel. So we have one Java screenshots. Okay, so let me come back. Complete software. Let me go to this. Here also it is not available. Cucumber jars. Come back to Selenium. So jar files. Yeah, Apache Maven. This is Cucumber, Selenium, Grid, Jenkins. Not there. Come to back. Testing, inside testing. So I have stored somewhere here Selenium all jar files. It is not there in the jar files, right? Drivers, Cucumber jars, Jenkins.
Maybe
Selenium.
POI 4.1, last one.
No, this won't work basically. So let me check one by one folder. Selenium complete softwares, Selenium jars. These are the Selenium jars. This is Jenkins, JDK, Eclipse, drivers, no. Somewhere I have stored, let me check. I can remember somewhere I have definitely stored. This is Apache Maven, where it is training material itself. Prepared Excel reflection, object Selenium screenshots. Somewhere, okay, so let me go to Selenium all. So Selenium jars. I think so. Here only, see POI. Let's see POI, POI XML, POI. Okay, so except Selenium, so remaining I will copy all. So let me do one thing. Control A. Even though we add Selenium jars, it's not a problem. Okay, these I will copy and I create one folder. Inside my project, I create one folder. New folder. POI jar files. POI jar files. Or Excel jars. Excel jars. See, I have Excel jars. Here I will paste. Okay, I have all jar files in my project. So these I will add it to my project. Okay, go to build path, configure build path. Okay, here if you want to add libraries. So earlier we are selecting add external jars because those are outside of your project, not there in this folder. Now you can use add jars. So inside, see, directly it is showing current directory, right? Inside that you have Excel jars. Select all these files. Okay, apply and close. These libraries you can see now into reference libraries. Okay. So now if you want to work with Excel, okay, let me create in IO streams only. Let me create one package, one class. Class name is Excel operations. Excel operations. Again, the same thing. Okay, so I have one file on my desktop. This is the file test.xlsx. Let me copy this and store to my IO streams folder. So here I have XLX file. I want to read the data from XLSX. Okay, so here also what you have to do is the input output operations are common to read the data. Which file you have to specify? Which file you have to specify? So in which file, from which file you want to read the data? My Excel file, .xlsx. So you might aware of XLX and XLSX. What is the difference between XLS and XLSX? We have basically two types of Excel files. Okay, two types of Excel files. What are those? XLS and XLSX. Okay, so XLSX is the popular one, recent one. So it stores our data in the form of XML. Okay, in the backend .xml format it will store. It will store in the form of plain text format. This XLS. Okay, that is the difference. So most of the time we use XLSX. XLSX. So if you want to process the XLS data, okay, first you have to do is you have to create a object for your Excel file. Okay, how we are creating the object for your notepad file. So now if you want to read the data from Excel, so we have some classes, those we have added to our project. Okay, in Apache Py library, we have classes like HSSF, HSSF workbook, HSSF workbook, new HSSF workbook. It is accepting stream. That stream you have to pass here. Okay, it is also throwing some exception, IO exception. Okay. This is for XLS. This is for XLS workbook. Okay, so let me run whether it is working for XLSX. Yeah, it is taking XLSX also. So see, here we are getting exception. Office XML file exception, which means this XLS, this HSSF can handle only XLS file. You cannot use here. This is a XLSX file. If you want to process XLSX file, you have one more class, that is XSSF workbook. See, whatever I'm explaining, all these are interview questions only. Okay, no need to again practice for interview questions. If you follow the class as it is, you can answer for any question. Okay, this is for XLSX. Now if you run, you will not get any error. See, you are not getting any error. Okay, the execution also is over. So Excel has some hierarchy, right? So now you have book. Okay, inside book you have sheets. Okay, now you have to get the sheet from this workbook. Dot get sheet. So you can pass index of sheet. So this is index 0, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, I want to use the name because using name we can easily identify the sheet. I use the sheet. So this you want to store into some object. Okay, so this is a sheet like XSSF workbook. You have XSSF sheet. XSSF sheet. Okay, so this is XLSX or sheet 1. Okay, name you can directly give sheet 1. Sheet 1. Again, inside the sheet we have rows. Okay, there are more than one row. So in this case, whenever you have more than one row, to get the rows, okay, we have row iterator. Row iterator to get all rows. What is iterator? It is a collection, right? It will store list of values. Okay, that we have seen in the collections. We converted into iterator, one by one value we have read. Okay, if you want to store this value row iterator, you have to store row type, all rows. Okay, so it is returning a row iterator. Okay, so it is a iterator basically. It is returning the iterator. See, so you have to store iterator. Okay, you have to import this. Import iterator from java.util package, and it is a type of rows, right? You are getting rows. You can use row. Row also you have to import from the Apache PY library. See, org Apache PY. So now you can read cells from the rows. You can read cells. Okay, so this is the iterator. If you want to read the rows from iterator, how you can read? You can use the simply while loop, while. So in this all rows, if it has rows means if it has some values in the rows, has next. You can read that row. Dot next. Next is to get the row. Okay, what it is returning next? It is returning row, single row. Okay, each row. Again, for each row you have cells. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells. Let me remove these cells. Okay, so again, if you want to get the cells from each row, what you have to do is from each row, you have to get the row. So to get the cells, you have cell iterator. Okay, it will return again iterator. Okay, iterator. This is all cells of first row, one row. Okay, it is a type of cell. Okay, import this cell from the package Apache PY user model. Again, from each cell, if you want to print, okay, again you have to use while loop. Okay, you have all cells dot has next. If it has some value, Okay, read that value, read that cell, not value. Okay, read that cell. Okay, inside the cell you have the data. This is a cell, each cell. From each cell, if you want to read, you have methods dot get. So here we can have string number while passing the data, string number, like that you can have the data. Okay, so let me remove this 100. Okay, so let me print get get cell value, get cell value, get date cell value, get column, get cell type, get cell, get. We have one method get boolean, get cell, get numeric cell. Like numeric cell, we have, let me check. Okay, so let me check in this file. So if you want to get the data, get numeric, get string cell value. Yeah, get string cell value, get string from the cell value. Okay, so if you want to print it, yes, you can print. So somebody already implemented these logics. Okay, so if you run it, it has to run all the values. So till some part it has printed. See, up to customer it has printed. For after this, it is trying to fetch some empty cell data. Now if I run, you will not get that error. Still you are getting a cannot get a text value from a numeric cell. Where is numeric? Where we are using numeric? So something is there. What I do is, do we have some numeric data? No, right?
Admin 1 to 3 is there, no?
No. So admin is there, right? Already. So it takes as a string.
Okay.
So admin already it is printing. So if you observe here, admin already it is printing. So let me run it. So here, so it is taking some. Okay. So what we can do is, if it is a numeric data, print the numeric data. If it is a string data, print the string data we can use. Okay. For that, if you want to check this cell, switch condition, you can use switch each cell dot. So we have cell type. Okay, cell type numeric. Okay, cell type numeric. Cell type numeric only, right? Get cell type, sorry. Get cell type. We have to use get cell type. Get cell type. Each cell dot get cell type. Okay. If it is cell type is numeric, cell type is numeric. So cell dot numeric. Again, we are getting error. Why? Case expression must be constant expression. Constant expression. Why this must be constant expression? No. Each cell, this is fine. Okay, cell type you will get. If you use cell type, it gets whether it is a numeric type or some other type. But here, case must be, or we can use if condition also instead of that. So here it is working switch in my previous program, but why it is not taking? Just let me compare just as net, the same thing. It is also same. Get cell type. This is also fine. Yeah, it must be each cell only. Okay, from Java 11, I think it is not accepting. From Java, in Java 8, it is easy to accept. I think backward compatibility should be there. Okay, so what I can do is get cell type when I use to array. It is not accepting. What I do is, let me write some if condition. Try with if condition. Each cell type. So what it is returning? It is returning, cell type is returning integer. Oh my God, it is returning integer. Get cell type. Should not return integer. Why it is returning integer? This element neither has attached source, not attached Java doc, hence Java doc is not found. Cell dot get cell type, it has to return this type of thing. Let me check. So let me try in this way, at least. Okay, so if it is a numeric cell, numeric value, instead of getting string value, get a numeric cell value. Similarly, if it is cell type string, get the string value. Get string value. Okay, so let me run this way. So basically the switch condition also works like same only. So now we are not getting error. Oh, somewhere it is taking 100. Okay, I have removed this, but I forgot to close this file. That is the reason earlier we are getting issue. So now if I run it 100, it won't be printed. 100, it won't be printed. Again, still printing now. Okay, maybe the reason is I have opened the file on my desktop, but in this file, if I open this test.xml, okay, it will be there. See, by mistakes only we will get the good knowledge. Okay, while you are doing some mistake, you try for no rectify that mistake, right? That time you will get the good understanding. Okay, so let me. So here, see, 100 is there. So let me remove this, delete it, close it. So now it won't print 100 here if I run it. See, you are able to read the data now from the Excel file using already implemented classes by Apache POI. Okay, so if you want to process the JSON data, if you want to process the XML data or any CSV file data or any other type of data, what you have to use? You have to use the file input streams. That corresponding classes supporting jar files you have to use in your programming. Again, you should not create your own logic. Okay, so you have to use the existing logic. Why do you waste the time? So Java is nothing but Java is most popular for reusability. Okay, so if somebody has implemented some logic that you have to use instead of creating the new logic. Okay, again to process the XML, to process the JSON or CSV file. Okay, just you need to go to Google and search for it. Okay, how to read the data from JSON. Okay, JSON parser class you will find. Okay, again JSON parser class will be available in Jackson or some other classes. Open how to parse JSON file. See, so here simply you have to download those libraries and you have to. So this is the JSON file basically. Like somebody has stored this file into some location. How to process the data? So you have to create a JSON object. But JSON object is not available in our Java package. Suppose if you try to use JSON object, create a JSON object. JSON object. It is not available. JSON object. See, not available. It is available in some other packages. Those packages you have to import. Okay. Again, every time downloading the jar files. Okay. Again, attaching to this build path. Okay. This is a huge header. That is the reason we have build tools to maintain the dependencies. So basically, these we call it as dependencies. Why dependencies? So to process your Excel, okay, it is dependent on these libraries. Without these libraries, you cannot process, right? That is the reason these are the dependencies. Okay, to maintain the dependencies like Selenium or these Excel type of or JSON, XML, or any other file kind of, or any other unit test library, all these things. Okay, if you want to easily maintain in your programming, in your project, okay, we have build tools like Maven, Gradle, and like that. There are so many build tools. So we use Maven. Okay, so after starting the Selenium, I will explain the Maven. Okay, so Maven project we have. Using Maven project, we can easily organize our dependencies. Suppose if I want Jackson library, Jackson is nothing for, it's for to process the JSON data. Okay, so here we have official website, Maven, official website, Maven repository. Just simply I will check for the my dependency. So here Jackson core. See Jackson core. Core Jackson processing abstraction, some also known as streaming API implementation for JSON. See Jackson core. If you want jar files to process the JSON files, okay, you can directly download from here also. Go to this latest version. So here you will have jar file. So if you click here, that jar file will be downloaded that you can use in your programming. Suppose if you create a Maven project, so directly you can use this statement. How to use this statement, how to create a Maven project, we will discuss after a few days. After 1-2 days, we will discuss. Okay. So are you able to understand this processing of Excel file?
Yes, Shiva.
It is very simple. Okay, using already existing classes, we can read the data from Excel. Not only Excel, any file. Okay, that corresponding classes we have to add to our project. Otherwise, we have to implement the logic by reading the data from the input streams. Okay, let me stop recording.